2010, Kevin was age 48. In May 2010, Leslie had what she calls her aha moment. We were in St. Paul at Esther's house. Esther was a woman in her late 80s, preparing to sell her home so she could move into an assisted living apartment. Her home hadn't been touched in years, and there was a lot of work to do. We scraped and painted and fixed all the little things, but I wasn't able to hold the hammer, and the screwdriver kept slipping. And painting at Esther's was difficult. Holding that brush to do the edging, I just couldn't do that. Leslie noticed, and she had her aha moment. Still, we didn't talk about it. And honestly, to me, the symptoms at the time were Lyme disease, no matter what anyone said. Lyme disease is what I was willing to accept. I just had to get rid of the Lyme, and then I could get back to holding the screwdriver, the hammer, the edger. Get rid of the Lyme, and I could get back to bending wood in oval-shaped offices and crafting amazing staircases downtown. We finished Esther's without a word or acknowledging what was to come. In June, we talked about my symptoms and the possibility of my having Lyme and also ALS. My right arm was weak. For a long time, it was just my left arm, and my right arm was super strong, driving every screw and pounding every nail. My right arm was my wrestling arm. I wasn't half bad. Not many people beat me. When my right arm started to get weak, it was devastating. I had kept a good attitude and had been working hard to eat right and drink things that were good for my body. And I had met Leslie, the love of my life. Now, instead of getting better, was I getting worse? The loss of strength in my right arm took me back because I was hoping that the weakness in my left arm was related to my neck, which doctors had wanted me to do surgery on from using it in too many ways on the job site. I was dismissing the signs to Lyme disease and damage to my spinal cord in the neck region. I figured the Lyme was adding to the aggravations, but now, with my left arm also losing strength, I knew something more was going on. The fasciculations were becoming more frequent. Leslie spent time learning the details of Lyme, and she began to research ALS. I made an appointment for an electromyography, EMG test, which measures how quickly a person's motor neurons talk to their muscles, as well as how quickly an electrical current moves through those same muscles. I scheduled the appointment and continued chugging along. Friday, July 3rd, Leslie and I packed for some summer fun and traveled to Lake Nebagaman to celebrate the 4th. The family cabin my mom used to own was just a few homes away from downtown on the lake. It got to be too much work and upkeep for Mom, so she sold it and moved to a new townhome near the boat landing with a beautiful view of the lake. Instead of saying, "We're going to the cabin," we now say, "We're going to the lake." So we were going to the lake to celebrate the 4th. I took great pride in the work that I did. To be a skilled professional capable of magnificent creations one day and demote myself to laborer the next, well, that was hard. Having to stop doing that type of work was hard. And there I was in Lake Nebagaman at my mother's, and the baseboards were too heavy for me to carry into the townhome and down the stairs. So my son Jeffrey carried the baseboards and saw to the basement. I was still able to cut the boards and nail them with an air nailer, and I did that. But then I stood there and I knew this will probably be my last job. 48 years old. How is this possible? It was the beginning of the weekend, so I didn't want to dwell on it. I decided, let's get her done and then have some fun. And you know, as a craftsman, I had a vision. Pay attention to the details, plan and build with passion, create something unique and memorable. I did all of that with my work, and I was going to do that with my life and my new love, Leslie. On Saturday, July 4th, we were only 2 blocks from the local bar with a patio overlooking the lake. Sometimes they would have live music there, so we went down to the bar and had a drink. We hung out on the deck overlooking the lake and watched the eagles and enjoyed the beautiful view. There was the hustle and bustle of the boat landing right there, so that always provided something to watch, with inexperienced people backing their trailer up into the water, sometimes people yelling at one another. It was entertaining, but mostly we enjoyed family time together. I was having this feeling of, does anyone understand what I'm experiencing and going through? The next week I was going to go in, and I was pretty sure I was going to be diagnosed with ALS, and my family had just been through all of this with Annie and Dad. What's going to happen with me and Leslie? I didn't want to know. I didn't want to hear it. On Sunday, Leslie and I had spent the weekend staying with the others in my mom's townhome, in this wide open space with a lot of beds and a small kitchenette. Though no one was leaving that day, we were winding down from our 4th of July celebrations, and all I could think of was, how do I prepare to tell my mom and siblings we might once again experience ALS? Leslie and I hadn't discussed telling others about the worsening twitching and weakness and the brain fog and the weight loss. We hadn't discussed sharing that I had made an appointment. Leslie was still downstairs, and Mom, Lynn, and Keith were around the table. I was standing near the top of the stairs by the railing, and I just started saying it out loud. In the moment, I just felt the need. Leslie came up the stairs to the whole family listening to me. She stood by my side as I explained I was worried I had what Dad and Cal and Annie had. I was worried that I had ALS. The room went quiet, but the looks on the faces could be felt. There were a lot of tears, especially from my nephew, Brian, Annie's son. He had these big tears coming down his cheeks as I explained I had scheduled an appointment for the following week with the neurologist, and it would probably confirm what I suspected, ALS. Leslie was surprised I was acknowledging my symptoms, and Lyme may now also be ALS. I was surprised too. It just sort of happened.